Hi, good morning, everybody. Sitting here looking in Ephesians. I'm reading in Ephesians. It's a letter from Paul. Obviously, he's writing to the church in Ephesus, and it's not like some of the other letters where they had been taught some wrong fundamentals, and he writes to correct them. I mean, it has some of that, but it's more of a moral teaching. And Paul's writing to the church in Ephesus, and there was a lot of discrimination between the Jews and the Gentiles, and they thought one was better than the other, and some discrimination going on that. So he writes them about that, but it's more of a moral teaching, and he tells us how to shake off our old shells and live more like Christ, And in Ephesians 5:1, it tells us to imitate God as His children, because we are His children. Actually, I can tell you what it exactly says. It says, chapter 5, verse 1, imitate God, therefore, in everything you do, because we are His dear children. So we're to live like Christ. We're to try to imitate Him, given, that's going to be hard to do. But he follows that up in the previous and after that chapters of Ephesians, and he's telling us some moral conduct, some standards that we should go by, and there's obviously a bunch of stuff in here that's just it's good moral compass stuff, and it tells you good things. But I'm reading in the verses Ephesians 6 5 through 8. And it's talking about submitting. I'm sure a lot of people, you don't have to be into church or anything, but everybody's heard about the submitting. Wives submit to husbands, and that's in the previous chapter there. And Paul writes, and he gives us three things in here. He's talking about submitting, and obviously he's talking about a household, between a relationship between a man and a woman. He's talking about how we should submit to each other there. He's talking about the submission for children, a father and daughter, or a parent and children relationship. And he's also talking about a slave-master relationship, which in the Roman culture, that was pretty common to have slaves. He's not condoning that, but that was an issue. That was a society, so he addresses it. He's not condoning it. He's addressing the action, And so he's talking about slaves and earthly masters, and that's kind of what I'd like to talk on here, because I'm gonna, for conversation's sake, I'm going to say slaves as workers and masters as your bosses, okay? So there's a lot of people in the oil field, and there's a lot of people in all lines of work, and we all kind of have our qualms. It doesn't just have to be oil field that people get sour about work and things not going good. That happens in all lines of work, but in oil field, it's kind of there right now. But I would like to read this, and it says, Ephesians 6:5, it says, slaves, obey your earthly masters with deep respect and fear. Serve them sincerely as you would serve Christ. Try to please them all the time, not just when they are watching you. As slaves of Christ, do the will of God with all your heart. That's the main part I really like out of this, is as slaves of Christ, do the will of God with all your heart. Work with enthusiasm as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will reward each one of us for the good we do, whether we are slaves or free. And so what I'd like to get out of that, and what I'd like to just say, what he has showed me, is that a lot of time when people say submit, they think that we're talking about laying down and just submitting and being a doormat and getting stepped on. That's not submitting. We have to love, and part of loving someone is submitting to someone. And I know that sounds, a lot of dudes are probably out there going, man, I don't love my boss, that's kind of gay, whatever you may think. But what I'm saying is, submission is a sign of love, and we're supposed to love everyone, and we need to. And it doesn't mean that you can't stand up for yourself. We're supposed to live like Christ, and Christ stood up for himself when he needed to. So I'm not saying roll over and die, but I'm talking about doing a good job in all we do, whether it be any job we have. We have to remember that the Lord will reward us, each one of us, for the good that we do, whether we're slaves or free. And we got to work for the Lord as if we're working for the Lord rather for people. We have to do the right thing even when no one's looking. That's what I tell my kids all the time. Integrity. Got to have integrity. So we got to have integrity in every aspect of our life. I hope everybody has a good week. I hope everybody can apply this. Keep praying for everybody. I hope everybody's still doing the note deal. I know we need some earnest prayers for our country. We really need some serious prayers for that, and for the oil field too. But everybody keep working, and remember that I mean, God's timing's perfect. We just have to keep loving, and part of that love is submitting, whether it be in a spouse or a boss or our children. Let's keep praying for each other. I hope everybody has a good week, and I'll talk to y'all then. Thank you.